If you're in sales and you'd like to close more sales consistently, this may be the most important video you've ever watched, and here's why. 47% of salespeople across industries fail to make quota consistently. In fact, it even got worse than that. A recent report released by Salesforce.com said that 57% of sales reps expected to miss quota in 2018. While several reasons were cited for these alarming statistics, the bottom line is this. In today's ever-changing world of selling, product knowledge and selling skills just aren't enough to achieve consistent, sustainable sales growth. Yet, when companies invest in training their reps and their employees, they spend 90% of that resource training on product knowledge and only 10%, if that, doing sales training or teaching selling skills. But when the customers are surveyed, what they want is to work with somebody that knows their stuff, yes, but they feel like they can trust and work with to help them make tough decisions. And that has nothing to do with product knowledge and more to do with how we interact with the customer. So therein lies the gap that we experience between product knowledge, sales training, and ongoing sustainable sales growth. So what's the solution? I call it comprehensive sales influence. Now, let me use a metaphor. Imagine for a moment that product knowledge and sales training represent this Christmas tree. It's a fine tree to be sure, but it's bare. It's not going to make the holiday what you want it to be. But when you decorate it with comprehensive sales influence or the ornaments, it makes a phenomenal tree and ultimately results in what you're looking for. Ongoing sustainable sales growth, tons of presents and gifts that keep on giving. But more on this concept of comprehensive sales influence in just a moment, because if you're anything like me, you're thinking, who is this guy and why should I listen to him? And that's a great question. My name is Dwayne Huff. I'm a 23-year sales veteran. I spent 14 years out in the field, and I can be honest with you and say the first 6 years were absolutely dismal. I went through 9 jobs in the first 6 years because I just couldn't figure this out. Fortunately, in the 7th year, I landed on my feet, had a great company that did some awesome training and gave me some good mentorship to learn how to sell effectively without being pushy, without using sales techniques and tactics and closing lines and cheesy, sleazy stuff that people avoid and run from. I was able to sell authentically. And I stumbled across a couple of the insights that led to comprehensive influence in that particular job. But then things changed drastically for me when I landed in the pharmaceutical sales industry. Spent 8 years there. Had the most phenomenal sales training, product knowledge training. But the pieces of this sales influence puzzle started to come together for me. And I was able to maintain a top 10 spot in each of the pharmaceutical companies that I was a part of, even spiking to number 5. But I wasn't number 1 because that wasn't where I was focused. I was behind the scenes trying to put together what would ultimately lead me to starting my own company as founder and CEO of Influence Seminars, because I wanted to go out and I wanted to teach what I had learned to other sales professionals so that they could create some consistency and predictability in their lives. In fact, I had a account executive at Dell Computers one time when I was doing some training, asked me, he says, what leads a sales rep, a successful sales rep, to go into training? And I told him, I said, it's a passion. I wanted other people to know. I said, I got to be honest with you too. It's much more profitable for me to be out on my own, selling my own stuff, as opposed to working for a company. And that was kind of my dream and my goal, so I started it. And for the past 10 years, I've worked with small, medium, and large size companies, and many of them that you'll recognize, and you'll see them here. Capital One Bank, Chiquita Banana, Abbott Laboratories, Dell Computers, as I mentioned before, Lockheed Martin, Merrill Lynch, and this is just a short list of the people that I've been able to serve and help with this comprehensive sales influence training. And I've got plenty of testimonials on LinkedIn. This is just a few of them that back up the success that they've had applying what we've discussed. But I say all that to say that I'm hosting a free live training webinar where I will be sharing each component of my comprehensive sales influence method and showing you how to plug it into your current sales process so you can get an immediate and lasting increase in your sales results, allowing you to meet and exceed your sales goals consistently and predictably. So click the link in this post now to reserve your spot in this free live training. Okay, so you might be thinking, great, what exactly is comprehensive sales influence? And I promised I'd share a little bit more about it. Allow me to use a metaphor, a puzzle. Now imagine for a second that this puzzle was made of perfect squares instead of all of these intricate pieces. That would represent all of the disciplines that go into comprehensive sales influence, and I'll share them with you in just a moment. But because there's cuts, because there's circles, because there's protruding parts of this particular puzzle and the puzzle pieces, that's what makes them all fit together. But if it was a perfect square, it would represent each individual discipline in its fullness. And in order to have comprehensive sales influence, you're not going to need all of these disciplines in their fullness. You only need specific pieces, strategies, principles that work together to form the perfect puzzle to bridge the gap between your product knowledge and your sales influence. Between the product knowledge, your sales training, and comprehensive sales influence, leading you to ongoing sustainable sales growth. So without further ado, let me break these apart. Again, each one of these components are very specific, and I'll cover these in the live training. But let's start with the first one, attracting. How are you attracting your customers? And by that, I don't mean how are you going after your customers? How are you calling them? How are you cold calling them? How are you emailing them? How are you connecting with them on social? Are you knocking on their doors? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how are you, as a sales professional, attracting prospects and customers to you, not waiting on your company to do the marketing. So hopefully somebody comes through the door, picks up the phone, reaches out to you. How are you taking responsibility to attract your customer? Because when you connect with your customer in the right way, on their terms where they are, and then you communicate in the language that they understand, that they communicate in, not your sales language, not your product and service knowledge, but how they're wired, how they want to receive the information, you begin to educate them on their terms. And when you do this and you combine those three, it positions you as an authority, an expert, and a trusted advisor. And trusted advisors bypass the sales process in many situations. Are you adding value to your customer? We hear that time and time again, but here's the question. How do you add value to your customer? Have you ever tried to give something, do something, offer something to one of your prospects or customers only to have them say, no, thank you, don't want it, don't need it, or just disconnect or go away or not buy from you? What happened? How did it make you feel? Well, I'll use another metaphor. Imagine that you have a gift, the perfect ideal gift for your prospect or customer. It's in a box, but it's wrapped, let's say it's their birthday, and you wrap it in Christmas paper. Are they likely to receive it right away? No, they're confused. And they may just say no thank you, or they may just hand it back to you, or they just might put it aside and wait to open it at the appropriate time. But if you wrap it in the appropriate paper, it's appropriate to the occasion. Same thing with the line value. That'll make a little more sense here in a moment. What problems are you solving for your customer? Are you sure you're solving the right problems? Just because your company tells you that this is the problem the customer has or should have, and this is what our products and services do for them, features and benefits, do you know the individual, which goes back to connecting and communicating? Have you educated them on the right thing? Are you solving the right problem? They may be an anomaly. They may be in line with what's normally being solved, but how do you know? And I'll show you how to do that and how to create aligned value. That brings us to leadership. Sales is leadership. And time again, I hear sales professionals say, Dwayne, that does not make any sense. I'm not a leader. This is not a leadership position. What do you mean? It goes with the aligned value. It goes with educating and solving problems. And it goes like this. One of my mentors said it best. He said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. He said, and in order to influence people, in this case prospects and customers, you have to add value to their lives or business, but you can't add value to their lives or businesses unless you understand what it is they already value. Hence, aligned value, right? How do you do that? Well, you spend time in their world, not in your world. You go to where they are. You spend time talking to them, listening to them, asking questions, paying attention to where they spend their time, their money, their effort, their energy, what they complain about, what they want, what they desire. Sometimes you have to do research online. Sometimes you have to do a focus group. Sometimes you just have to bring a customer or prospect to lunch, dinner, or coffee to listen to what they're not saying, or what they are saying, and get them comfortable enough to really open up or share that information. You can also mine data that you've had from the past or that other sales professionals in your team have had. There's so many ways of doing this, and I'll cover more extensively on the free live training webinar. Negotiating. Now, when I say this one, and it's not all negotiating because there's certain negotiating you don't want to be doing as a sales professional, i.e. you don't want to be discounting your prices, offering discounts, or some other way destroying your profit line and your profit margin and your commission. So when I say negotiating, I hear sales professionals say all the time, Dwayne, that's not going to work for me. I can't discount my price. I even heard one major sales guru just completely go off on negotiating, and his whole premise was that you'd end up discounting your price. Well, he does not understand negotiating. Price, money, dollars and cents is about 10%, if that, of negotiating. Negotiating is about how you negotiate terms, situations, create the aligned value, understand each other, ebb and flow in conversation. And whenever you hit a wall and realize that there might not be a way to solve the customer's problem, to have a dialogue, and how to initiate a dialogue that gets the two of you co-creating a solution. There's a great saying that says people support what they help create, and your prospects and customers are definitely no different. And finally, presenting. I know you present your products and services all the time, but have you ever done it in a way that you completely knocked it out of the park and you closed the business, maybe even got referrals, but then the next time it fell flat, or you felt like you bombed, or you just didn't get your message across? How do you do that consistently? And how do you do it consistently with one person, two people, or a room full of people? Obviously, they don't have the same needs, wants, and desires. How do you present in a way that gets them all? And that's why it's not all of these skills that you need. It's specific skills that fit together and help you bridge that gap. And that's what I want to share in this free training. So again, that's comprehensive sales influence, and it's going to help you bridge the gap between product knowledge, sales training, and that ongoing sustainable sales growth. And when you get those puzzle pieces fitting together and you know how to work that into your current sales process and your current sales conversation, you're going to change the game instantly, and it's going to be able to sustain. So go ahead and click the link to reserve your spot in this free live training. And be sure to stay until the end of the webinar, because that's when I'll share the number one insight that helped me render my competition virtually irrelevant, not just in my sales career, but also when I started my company. So don't miss this free live training webinar. Register now by clicking the link to register, whether that's the link in the post itself or the link below, and I'll see you in the training.